This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, good catch. Good catch. Oh, yeah, this is a new system. So, see, you noticed. Good job. All right. I thought we were already doing that. Okay. So thank you. Now I'll know what to look for and what it looks like when it's actually on. So to get back to it, we are going to have our first meeting tomorrow night. And that will be a 7 p.m. joint city council school committee meeting. And we're going to just talk about process. Then our next meeting will be May 18th. That will be an evening of interviews. Those will be very small interviews. President Gomez is going to send out material to the whole city to let people know what to expect. But those will start at 7:15. And then on May 31st, at 6 p.m. will be the vote for the 2 school committee members. And one of the things that President Gomez was going to put in this announcement is an understanding that this position that people would be running for is a position that will go till the end of this year. However, if someone wants to continue on as school committee, they would then have to run in the normal election, which will be in November. But if you get on this time, it would be until the end of till the end of the year. And that is all I have for right now. Back to Megan. We want to talk about the We the People gifts.
Yes. So we have quite an impressive list of financial support donations given from members of our community. I am looking at the list right now. We would be here all night if I were going to read all of these names. So we're talking about single-spaced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages of names with an amount generously donated next to each name. Members of our community, folks who donated anonymously to support We the People. So we want to thank the community for that outpouring of support.
Yeah, it's quite an enormous, impressive list of names. Now, Dr. LeClaire, last time we posted it with a thank you. How did we do that so that we recognize the donors?
I think we put something on our website, if I recall. Does that sound right?
Yes, yes.
All right. We can absolutely do that again on our website and push the announcement out to everyone in our district to let them know that the list is there.
Yeah.
So that they can navigate to it.
I think it's important because there are a lot of donations here. This program is well supported. And I think it's just really important that we get that information out to everybody. So great. Thank you. All right.
No problem.
That's
Cindy,
all you have, right?
Cindy,
Yes.
you do need to vote on that.
Thank you. No. But for a minute I was thinking you were voting on just publicizing the names. Sorry, yes. So you're going to make your motion, Megan.
All right. I would like to make a motion that we accept the generous gifts from 8 pages of folks who have donated to We the People.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mayor LaChapelle?
Yay.
Megan Harvey?
Megan Harvey, yes.
Ben?
Ben Hersey, yes.
And Cindy Kwasinski, yes. And we thank you all. So with much gratitude. If anybody notices that Marin comes in and I don't catch it, please let me know because I'm looking down at agendas and up here. All right. Is Mackenzie here?
She is not.
Okay. So there will not be a student representative update. Okay. So Andy, we're hoping you can run this. We're going to start a 15-minute public speak, and we will start it now. And usually Karen does it in the order that the hand is raised, and I think Kelly Brown raised hers first. And we're going to ask that you state who you are and keep it to 3 minutes, and we're going to run this for about 15 minutes.
All right. All right, Kelly Brown, you should be able to speak by unmuting.
Yes.
And if you want to show your
Thank you.
camera, if you'd like to.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to say thank you for the time to speak at tonight's meeting. I wanted to use my time to share appreciation for a few members of the Easthampton Public Schools. I know that doesn't happen often, or I'm not sure if it happens often, but I just wanted to take a moment to publicly acknowledge some really amazing people. So I apologize. My name is Kelly Brown. I have 3 children at Mountain View Schools. My oldest is 7 and in the 1st grade, and my 2 youngest are 4 and 5 and in the preschool program, also at Mountain View. All 3 of my children have IEPs. And tonight I wanted to just share some quick thoughts on the supports that my oldest son has received this school year. My oldest son has social emotional needs that are not always apparent, but that are ever present. And at the end of our last school year in spring 2022, I had an IEP meeting where I sat with his IEP team to talk about his upcoming school year as a 1st grader. And I left the meeting hopeful because everyone seemed to understand mine and my husband's priorities and concerns for his school year as his kindergarten year had been very difficult. From the start of this school year, we have felt tremendously supported by my son's IEP team. First, I want to publicly share my gratitude for Heather Cuthbertson, the special education coordinator for the early childhood years. Heather has sat with me and my husband at countless IEP meetings and has always been our champion. She allows our voice to be heard at every single meeting, whether it's an annual meeting or a meeting that I've called or asked to have, and always makes our priorities part of our son's plan. I truly don't believe that we would be where we're at if Heather was not supporting all of our IP meetings. Secondly, I want to thank Miss Emily Breida, my son's 1st grade teacher. Right from the start, Miss Breida recognized the needs my son has, and she made sure to help him shine all year through. She was understanding, compassionate, and she's just also a really, really amazing teacher. I've joked several times that she needs to move to 2nd grade, so if we can have her for just 1 more year. But Ms. Breida is consistently aware of and implements the accommodations on my son's IEP with no questions asked. She has gone beyond to create a classroom environment that feels safe for my son. And that is something that we can never say thank you enough for. And lastly, I want to shout out my appreciation as loud as I can for Mrs. Ryan Nash. She's one of the school counselors at Mountain View School. Mrs. Nash has been our lifeline this year.
Sorry, Kelly, we ran out of time on that one. Apologize, cut you there.
Okay.
We have one other person. There is currently no name for them. I believe it's currently unknown. If you like to speak, go ahead.
Are you able to hear me?
Do we need them to state
There
their
we
name?
go.
Yes. Hi, my name is Kathy Brzezinski. I live in Precinct 5. I wanted to speak today about some research that I've been doing regarding a lot of what's been happening within the school committee and in the community, and reviewing numbers, lots and lots and lots of records requests. And another one came yesterday, and I'm just going to read what it says. April 2nd. This is a police report from April 2nd. At approximately 7:45, I received a phone call from Captain Bill Kelly. This is the sergeant. He informed me that the mayor had contacted him regarding a post on Facebook that was a screenshot of the City of Easthampton webpage showing the school committee members' information. The captain also informed me that the school committee chairperson had requested a phone call as she was concerned about her safety. I called the mayor in order to inquire about the Facebook post, and she informed me that Cynthia wanted a visit to her home. I then proceeded to her home and spoke with both Cynthia and her husband. I advised them both that we did not receive any credible information regarding any threats to their safety. I also advised her that patrol shifts would be periodically checking the property to ensure their safety. Cynthia then said that a couple more committee members had felt safety concerns, and she identified Megan and Ben. She stated that they would appreciate a visit to their home. I proceeded to Megan's home. I made contact with her and advised her of the same information, that there was no credible information regarding threats, and did the same at the next residence. It appeared during one of the school committee meetings that the school committee members were saying that the police were coming to inform them of threats. According to this record, they're saying that there was no credible information about threats. Another perhaps disingenuous set of facts that were presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. There are currently no other hands right now, so if anyone would like to speak up, Patty C.
Yep.
I'm appalled at what Kathy just said. You're asking this community to trust you. You're asking this community to, Cynthia, you should pay attention, please, and stop right. No, please listen. You should be ashamed of yourselves. This is a public school system. The curriculum in this school system is not based on public reading, writing, and arithmetic. There are subjects which parents do not want their children involved in, and they don't even know what's going on. My granddaughter, who is in 5th or 6th grade, learned about what hormone blockers were. I'm angry. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time controlling myself. She learned what hormone blockers were. How can you justify that when you have kids that can't read, write, or do math? How do you 5 people sit there and justify this to the people of this public and their children? I want a future for my grandchildren. I want them to grow up to be respectful adults, not anything like what I'm seeing in the school system. And yes, I've been around a long time, and you can call me an old cranky lady. I don't care. You can call me a homophobic. I don't care. I want what's best for my grandchildren. Why don't you all do the same?
Thank you, Patty. There's no hands currently right now, so if anyone else wants to speak, you may.
Yeah, we still have time.
We're allowed to let them speak once, right? Sorry, Kelly.
Yeah. Although this says Kristen
Yep,
Tataro.
Christine Tataro, you may speak.
Christine.
You're currently muted. If you could please unmute yourself. If you're able to hear Christine, we currently can't hear you.
She said her thing is not working. Is there any way for you to unmute her? She is trying and it's not working. Is there a way for you to help her out, please?
Unfortunately, I'm unable to mute them. Unmute them? They would have to unmute themselves.
You kicked her out. No, she's trying to unmute and then she was kicked out.
There are also a number of members that are committee members that are trying to get in and can't.
She's texting me. She's trying to log in again. She's trying to get in. So I would ask you to please keep this open session open until everyone can get back in so that you are not in violation of
Do we have a limitation on how many people can be in the room?
It
No.
should be around 300. So,
Right.
I mean, we couldn't.
And we're far from there.
And I'm not getting anyone asking for admission. So
It's showing Christine Totaro is there. So she's not kicked out of the meeting. I don't know why. Let's see. No. No.
If you give her a minute, I told her to come over here and she can speak on my computer. If you want to just give her a minute, please. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to talk while we're waiting for
we have
Christine?
Steve Totaro.
There you go.
Go ahead, Steve. If you're currently speaking, Steve, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. I just had a quick question on why we are opening the interim position internally when we are paying an outside company to do an external search for us, and why this wasn't done, I guess, beforehand, instead of wasting all the taxpayers' money. That's all.
Thank you, Steve.
I think that was Christine.
Yeah, Christine.
That was Christine. She couldn't figure out how to unmute her phone. We were having some technical difficulties.
No worries.
Okay, anybody else? We have I have 2 more minutes possible, so at least one more person could speak for 3 minutes. So if anybody would like to talk, this is the time. All right. We'll give it a minute. All right. One more minute and we're going to close it. But if I don't want to close it before we give people a chance, just in case somebody comes late. We'll wait one more minute. Okay. I have 15 minutes. And seeing no other hands, we're going to close public speak. But there was a good piece of information that I can add to my interim announcement. Aside from doing the interviews and giving those dates, I can announce, and this might help clear up some confusion, MASC is not charging us for the service that they're doing because this is a much shorter and much easier search. This is something that is being done by MASC for free. So it is not costing the district any money. And that is important that I probably should add to our next announcements when I send out the dates. So that was actually very good. All right, so we've closed public speak. It's time for our superintendent updates, and I turn it over to you, Dr. Leclerc.
Thank you, Chair. This evening, we have a curriculum update, a presentation on our math curriculum in grades K through 12. And we have Julianne Levin, our Director of Curriculum, joining us this evening. And with her is Margaret Betts, who is one of our instructional coaches at Mountain View School. And they're going to be doing a presentation, and I will turn it over to them. And then I have a few announcements after. So Julianne and Margaret.
Well, I was just going to be here to introduce Margaret. So if someone can give Margaret screen sharing access, she's going to share an excellent presentation about our transition to an inquiry-based model for mathematics. Margaret works with our K-5 crew, although she also does work with some middle school teachers as well in a PLC. But the mathematical shift that we're making does apply to our K-12 curriculum. So while she's giving you the K-5 look at the curriculum, know that this is something that we're implementing across the board. And with that, I am so excited for Margaret to do this. When she showed me the slideshow last week, I immediately did what my elementary math training taught me to do, which was to find an exact answer immediately. So I'm super excited to see what you all think about this first problem. Margaret?
Yes. Hi. Before we get started, I have a little bit of a problem, which is I'm not sure how to share my screen in Google Meets. So if someone knows how to.
Yeah, at the bottom of your screen there,
Yeah.
there should be a square with the arrow pointing upwards. If you hover over it, it should say present now.
Yeah, it actually says I'm not allowed to share. That makes sense. So perfect.
Should be able to, let's see, give me one
Andy,
second.
just so you know, mine also says that, so.
Give it a try now.
It turned on. Great.
All right.
Okay. Julianne, is this visible to everyone?
Yes.
It's working for me. So yes, I think you are
Yes.
good to go.
Is it on slideshow mode or do I need to activate that?
You need to activate that. Yep. Now you're good. Yep.
Great. Okay. So the presentation tonight is called What Does Math Look Like at Mountain View School K-5? And as Julianne said, this is similar to what math looks like in all grades, but that I'm not seeing everyone. Let me just, oh, good. Now I can see people and share and is it working? Everyone's seeing it? Okay, good. This is what we are now using the same curriculum from K to 12. It's a very unusual situation for a school district to be able to have that level of continuity. And it is absolutely great for students because there is a predictable model for how lessons will go, but it also means that the curriculum itself has made sure that we're going to cover all the necessary content, and it's not we're not having to sort of select and quilt together a combination of resources. It also is a really great curriculum. And so it's very exciting to be able to use it in the schools. And in my opinion, it's what's best for kids. So let's see. Oh, goodness. Sorry, friends. I just don't sure how to go to the next slide. Let's see. Did that work? Yeah. There we go. Good. Okay, figured it out. That's what problem solvers do. So first grade, unit 5, first warm up. This is what students in 5th grade encountered sort of late winter when they encountered this unit. And this is the first thing they saw. The question was phrased slightly differently, but the question to ask is, what fraction of the whole picture is 1 square tile? So this is an open opportunity. I would love the school committee members to fully immerse yourself into this experience, only because I think that if you do so, I think you can sort of feel the potential for excitement and joy that can come from the mathematics, which is the goal, one of the many goals of the program. So, Megan, do you have a sense of what fraction it might be? And just so you know, and this is typically true, I don't have an answer for you. We're just having a conversation.
So I'm quickly trying to see how many tiles do we have along one side and how many along the other. And then
that's how Julianne approached it. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm old school. That's what I want to do. So I'm saying over a really big number.
Something of 1. Did you say 1 over a really big number?
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts that you could add on to what Megan said? How else did people solve this? Ben, what are you thinking?
As a person who is like not or who's pretty intimidated by math, it feels like I want to say like 1 out of like what fraction of the whole picture is 1 square tile? Oh my goodness, it just seems like there's so many. I don't know. I'm not sure how to calculate that.
Right. So what's actually super cool about this activity is that if we were doing authentically with groups of kids, we would actually have kids do 3 different things. What would be too small of a fraction? What would be too large of a fraction? And what would be about right? And the about right range is big. And in fact, at no point is the teacher being asked to provide an answer. So one of the major instructional shifts that this program has us do is teachers are not the answer providers. That doesn't mean that there are not sometimes answers in mathematics. There are lots of answers that are correct and incorrect. But in this opportunity, the point of it is not to get the right answer. The point of it is to think carefully about something that we wouldn't necessarily think of immediately as a mathematical question. And so this is just the lead in. This is just like the first thing kids are seeing. And so if we compare that to like the first thing we typically would have seen when we were growing up, which is just be a whole bunch of numbers over and over and over. So I'm going to show you the next slide, which is these are the 4 representations that students encounter when trying to make sense of this idea, which is multiplying and dividing decimals, which is something that most of us learn to do through a very procedural method where you take that decimal and you sort of shift it over. So you get it out of the way because we're not going to think about decimals, but we don't have any way to hold on to it. So if we look at these, what do you notice and what do you wonder about what you see in front of you? Mayor LaChapelle, what do you notice?
I noticed that columns and rows seem to be uniform, but the area that's covered by the blue is different. And they represent a fraction. And I don't know what the square is with all the little lines. That's what I wonder about. I guess that's my wonder is.
When you say the square, can you, the very small square with all the little lines?
Yeah, I wonder what that is. So,
Cindy, do you have any thoughts of what you notice or wonder?
Well, no, the same thing as the mayor. I look at the little square with the squiggles and think, does that represent a lot of pieces of information?
Yeah.
Or is that just one piece? So
great. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. This activity, what do you notice, what do you wonder, again, is a warm-up activity that is just meant to let everyone in the room have some time to think, right? One of the things about mathematics is when people think they're not good at it, it's often because they are not fast at it. And those things are deeply unrelated. But when we don't allow for time in mathematics, then sure, it only looks like kids who are fast are good at it. So we have to be open to this idea that thinking takes time. And so that is one of the sort of fundamental pieces to this curriculum.
can I ask a question?
Please.
If we go back to that slide, the first two you can make into the first two you can make into a fraction. Do the kids ever find out what the square with the squiggles is and what it represents?
Oh, yes, Cindy. So I have selected these. You see these little cuts. This is just because this is actually the model by which they begin to add, subtract, multiply, and divide.
Okay.
Fractional pieces. And so to clarify that, you can see it says 1 on every side. So that's like your whole. So that is your whole tank of gas or your whole dollar bill or whatever it is. And then students are able to identify because they get to see it right in front of them, right? There's nothing is being explicitly told to them at first. That doesn't mean there's not explicit instruction. It just doesn't get front loaded, right? Earlier today, I work in the after school program sometimes, and I was just there teaching, and students were doing something where they were being asked to, the activity I designed was that they were designing their own coin for their own country that they had designed. And so I brought in all these coins from all over the world so they could look and see what do coins have in common, right? So rather than me, I knew what I wanted, right? I wanted a list of things they had in common, but rather than hand them that list, they just explored with the material and they generated all the things that coins have. And if they hadn't thought of them, I helped them to get there. But we're flipping the place, like where is the teacher comes secondary because I've already learned the material. It is so important that students have an opportunity to truly understand it, which is really what the heart of the mathematics instruction is about. So what comes then is looking at something like this data set. So this curriculum is really, it's so recent that it's just trying to get, there are questions about all sorts of things that are interesting to kids. And one of them is just how fast people can go to do something, right? So there'd be like a little introduction to what a luge was if kids didn't know. And then they're just supposed to ask some questions, generate questions from this data. Now, this could actually be a true activity. It's not really a warm-up. You're asking kids to look carefully at this. So if you are a student and you're looking carefully at this, Megan, you don't have to answer your question. This is the power of of questioning, right? You actually don't have to know how to get to that answer. You just have to, I'm just asking you to ask a question, very open-ended. What is a question that you might ask from this data?
I start thinking about things like, okay, if I have their speed, what can I learn from their speed about how long it will take them? And if it doesn't follow a pattern, then I'm starting to ask questions why. Now you're in my area of asking questions and then testing data.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
If I'm reading this correctly, like I'm thinking, can you go 82 miles per hour in 48 seconds? Like, can you go that fast in less than a minute? Is that what we're seeing here? Because I'm thinking about a car, like it takes longer than 48 seconds to go that fast. How do you go that fast?
I didn't even think of that. I'm just like, okay, well, I just take it at face value.
Right. So I'm hearing you say like the times are less than 1 minute, but your speed is being measured in minutes. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, I suppose that's what I'm saying.
No?
I mean, I'm thinking
go
like,
ahead. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just thinking like, I'm curious about how, I'm thinking about the relationship between speed and time, I guess, and how how you can go that fast in under a minute is a question.
Can you think of anything that we measure, especially in sports, that are speeds that are never going to travel for a long period of time?
Do you mean like the velocity of a fastball in baseball or something like that? Like,
yeah, like I'm not a big sports person, but like I feel like so many of the statistics have to do with very, very fast speeds that wouldn't have gone a minute, right? And so, but here's what I think is so great, Ben, is that the opportunity to ask these bigger questions is what enables kids to then take the next leap to actually like solve. We're not trying to solve any problem right here. No one's being asked to add up all the numbers. Now it is the case. What's interesting is that because our culture is one where we have learned these practices, children actually arrive at school expecting math to look a certain way too. Like, just like they learn to speak through the world of like living and being within their families, they also come with their own math culture and expectations. And nearly all of them come with the expectation that they're going to take those numbers, put them in a row, and add them together, even in kindergarten. So this is something that actually we encounter concerns about by kids themselves. Like they're like, well, but what do I do with these numbers, right? So this idea of talking about math is actually the true work of the mathematics, being able to converse in mathematical ideas and see math in the everyday world. So I'm going to move on because I know I do not have, I really enjoy talking about these things.
You actually had them in order. So but while you were talking, I noticed that the athlete who got the fastest speed did not win. So that my question stands. I'd like to know why they didn't win. Anyway, go ahead.
You think these are in order of when they
who had the fastest speed, athlete 4, they hit 83.07. They did not win. If these times are how long it took them.
What makes you think they didn't win?
Because their time is longer than some of the other people. I'm assuming that's their race time. You're going to see all the assumptions. I'm playing right into it. And this is great.
No, so one of the beautiful things about the curriculum is that at no point could anyone, and nor would it be the nature of the curriculum, to memorize those and be like, I know athlete 3 won, right? Like the authentic experience with students is certainly knowing what you're teaching and knowing where you're going, but being genuinely interested and curious about what kids will say this time on this set of data. So yeah, I mean, like I hadn't actually thought about who was going to win, but that is actually a key question that students will always want to know. Like I'm out there being like, we all are having fun. And they're like, so-and-so has 18 points and so-and-so has 7. Like they always know, right? So I want to show you that the problem number 1, to find the value of 1/6, 1 6/10 divided by 1/10. Jada drew this diagram. Now, we have not had a whole course of learning this. But the only thing I ever had in math was that equation. And please solve that equation. But the diagram itself is the tool for being able to understand why the answer to this is 16, even though how would I have known? I only learned to just move the decimal places. But if we go back to, like if I could zoom this in, well, actually you can see it right here because if you just count the alternating tenths, you'll see that what that shows is a whole, which is 1, 6/10, which is the 6 strips. That's what we have. And it got divided into strips of tenths. And in the end, she had 16 strips. That's what the 16 is. But I never learned that, and neither did most people. They just learned we have this tiny number divided by this tiny number, and we get a big number. And it's counterintuitive to everything I ever learned about division. And so grounding the work in the actual everyday life of kids and then transitioning it into pictures, and only then asking students to manipulate numbers using pictorial representation is one of the key parts of the curriculum. And it's a shift for teachers and it's a shift for kids. Even though you would think it wouldn't be a shift for kids because kids have been doing this kind of math for a while, they still feel the shift. So the big question is then, how does a parent help? Because if we're not going to be learning as Keith Devlin, who's out of Stanford, says that we should be teaching for understanding. We have calculators, we have computers. Those are tools that we now have. We used to not have them. We used to actually need people to be calculators, right? If you've seen Hidden Figures, that's actually what those women's job was. And you needed multiple people to double check. We now have AI technology. Okay, so the only thing I have is my own personal brain. I can do, and that is the only thing I'm not going to outsource to a computer. And so my right to understand, my right to not just accept that, well, when you do this and you do this and you change this, keep it, change it, flip it, we're going to make it this thing. Like, why would I need to follow those rules? Some computer can easily do that for me. I want to know why that is. And that's what we want kids to want to know too. So these are the core curriculum beliefs. All students are capable learners, learning mathematics by doing math, community building, modeling with math. Students learn mathematics as a result of solving problems. Mathematical ideas are the outcomes of the problem solving. So now here we are. And I wasn't sure what I was going to put in this slide deck. And I have to tell you, it is the most 1950s thing I've ever encountered, because it's really 3 key things that everyone's grandma and grandpa and everyone can do and everyone has access to. And it's the most family positive kind of thing you could do. So one is, when you go to the grocery store, think about the math. Now, I'm not saying on the night where everything is horrible, right? And you're running in and running out. But there are lots of times where you're just like, you're there. And every grocery store has a scale. And it's a great thing to have children just go and figure it out. Which weighs more, a bunch of bananas or 3 oranges? I don't know. I want to go find out. And then the kid goes and they do it, and they have a purposeful task, but also like they're starting to understand like relationships between quantity and size and value. If we want children to know how to use money, we should use more cash with children. So take out a 20 and pay for some things with you have a lot more than $20 worth of groceries probably, but have them take, about $20 worth of groceries, and then they pay for them and they get change back so that they experience what it's like to have that authentic relationship with exchange. Obviously baking, measuring tools, all those things encounter fractions and decimals and proportion. So we're at the grocery store, but then the classic coin jar is another, everyone has one. Even if you aren't ever using cash, somehow you get just all these coins. So coins are great for just counting how many. I can't believe how many kids don't know that a coin can be worth multiple things. Coin is the category, and like a dime is worth 10 cents and a quarter is worth 25. So if someone says, how much is a coin? Well, that suggests they don't have a lot of experience yet with coins. So they love them. They love doing everything with coins. I mean, kids were like totally immersed in looking at coins today with me. I know, because as a classroom teacher, and those are the things, teachers have a hard time with taking kids to the grocery store. They have a hard time with having a lot of time for counting money because it's part of the curriculum, but it's sort of on the side. So these are, and then the final thing, which is the most useful skill and everyone can help, is time telling. So you can change your phone's screen to have a digital and analog at the same time. So this is just an example of one. I have watched children spend a lot of time just looking at the moving hands of the clock, right? If a second hand, watching it, getting some internalized sense of how long 1 second is versus 10 seconds versus the whole minute. And helping kids to learn how to tell time, that's a classic 3rd grade MCAS question. What time is it? Just look at the clock and tell the time. And again, it's a hard thing to teach in whole group. It's much easier to teach side by side with a child. And so it's something you could do with your child, an authentic experience. You can also time your trips and activities for like, how long does it take us to get to this place? I wonder, you could make estimates. Obviously, you can practice skip counting in a variety of ways, but, authentic mathematical experiences, actually thinking about the world in mathematical ways, is actually what the curriculum does. And instead of worrying about doing flashcards or other things that actually are a better function of school, where teachers have methods that seem to be somewhat more meaningful than just drill, thinking about how you can just see the math more in your own home. Everyone knows they should read to their kids at night, right? But people don't often think that they should talk about math with their kids. And no shoulds, right? Everyone's busy. But you also are waiting around a lot. And there's plenty of opportunity to just take out your coin purse or take the coins out of your pocket and look at them, or look at the clock, or think about what time would it be in Egypt right now? All those sorts of questions can come up through just everyday experiences if you just sort of keep them in mind, this would be an opportunity for me. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for allowing me to share. Thank you so much for participating. That was very generous of you all. Are there any questions that I haven't answered? Ben, you have your hand up.
Hey, hi. That is super exciting. If anyone in my elementary school education math experience had greeted me with the question, what do you notice and what do you wonder? I think it would have changed my entire trajectory. Like, I felt like the pressure was so intense around math that the anxiety just like skyrocketed it pretty quickly. This is really exciting, and I feel like it has the potential to help a lot of kids.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm curious is, this approach feels so sort of healthy and respectful of kids, but how does assessment work? How are we?
Well, so I would argue that that the healthiest way of thinking about MCAS, if we think, are you talking about MCAS specific, or so there's end of unit assessments that we have, right?
Yeah.
But for all those moments where you encounter problems, if you have a approach that says, hey, I have the ability to solve problems, because you're being presented with problems that are solvable, right? Like there's a saying, math is figure outable, right? And so sometimes, so if we have an approach state where we think this is just a little challenge, like our unit assessments are small. That's what I really appreciate. The curriculum has, there may be 10 questions, as opposed to like 25 was the typical number we had in other curriculum. So that's a significant decrease, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over half. And then each of those questions are not solve this, solve this, solve this. They are typically, there's something that has been experienced in the curriculum, but then they're not all word problems, but I have not encountered children finding, or many children finding the curriculum assessments to be stressful, and I also have found them to, I believe that the curriculum has properly prepared our students for MCAS. And I think of MCAS as something you just have to think of like, a set of puzzles that you're being asked to figure out. And I think if you have that state, I mean, I administered MCAS today and students were fine. It was a fine experience for them, and they were, and no one said to me, Ms. Betts, my teacher had not prepared me for this.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm just thinking as someone who thinks a lot about assessment at the college level, and sort of the way things are changing around grades and traditional assessments, it's changing.
It's a standards-based assessment.
Yep.
So the curriculum actually doesn't have a grade that they attach to it. It's like you as a district are expected to determine how you're going to use and quantify, if you're even going to quantify the unit test or the quizzes or whatever. And then we have a database that we use called Forefront, and we put those in, and that actually just gives you a color code to sort of let you know if a child looks secure, if they are developing, if they're beginning. And that was actually, by coincidence, I helped develop the scoring guide for that. So it is, it meets the values of our district.
Sounds really good. I mean, really. I would love to talk more about that with you, with anyone.
Oh, I'm happy to. I really like talking about this.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
So right now, my only question, this is K through 5, right?
No, it's actually, I just can't really present beyond 5th, but it actually goes K to 12. It is a unified curriculum for the whole district. It was actually a middle school creation, and it's been used in our middle school longer than our elementary or high school.
All right.
So that has allowed some expertise. Sorry, my son is in my eyes. Some expertise to be acquired in the district around the curriculum itself.
Okay, so it's K through 12 with the concentration in middle school.
No, it just started in middle school. So it's like it's been
backwards,
the whole
work down.
So yeah, so the curriculum was first designed for middle school.
Got it.
And I can talk to you more in the future about the history of the curriculum. And then they added the high school level.
Okay.
And then they added the elementary level. But when we adopted middle school first, and then at the same time, we simultaneously adopted the high school and the elementary because all the grade levels had gone through a curriculum,
Renewal
process.
cycle.
Yeah, renewal cycle. Thank you, Julianne.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
If you spend all your time around Margaret Betts and Jody Alatalo, you end up really loving your job.
Yeah, I do really love my job. It's really good.
Right?
Yeah.
We have a good time.
Okay. That was my only question is where, how it's grouped. Okay. That makes sense.
Great. The only thing I would say about high school is that it's in high school, it's just algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2.
It's just algebra 1 and algebra 2?
And geometry.
It doesn't go to like
your geometry. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it doesn't go to pre-calc. It doesn't go to calculus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Algebra 1, algebra 2, and geometry. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I just wanted to thank Margaret and thank you, Julianne, for presenting Margaret's piece tonight. I will say that if you recall, a few months ago when Julianne shared out MCAS results with you, we had made significant gains in our math curriculum.
Yep.
So this curriculum model, this program, is proving to be successful for our students in the district.
Good. And I'm just like going into darkness. So I'm gonna
I have one last quick question.
Yes.
I really liked your ideas about having parents help by shopping and estimating rounding values, measuring when you're cooking and counting a coin jar, and time telling and timing trips. All of those things I'm all in favor of because it helps kids to really know that there's math every day in their life.
Yeah.
Is there a way that message goes out to families and parents as like a pamphlet or information for them so that they can start to play around with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a great suggestion. So I know Jill puts a monthly newsletter, and I have contributed at times to it, and each grade level contributes. So there could definitely be a math corner, right? Like I've seen other places make a calendar where it's like, do this on this day, but I like this idea of maybe just like taking those slides and then just making one for each month.
Well, I'm just thinking families would get really excited about feeling like they're participating in their child's math growth,
right?
With such a simple thing.
Yes.
But that message, if you get it out, it validates that they're actually doing math with their kids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Cindy. That's a great idea.
Okay. Thank you. That's great.
And we did we did a curriculum night in April. And there were lots of different content areas that we let parents kind of visit, walk around, and go to different sessions. So we did that at Mountain View in April.
Right, but I was just thinking there are parents who can't always make it in.
Yes.
And if you had that piece of information, and it's so simple, and yet you're really helping your student and your child to understand that they're working with math every day. So that was the only reason why I was thinking of sending that out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you.
And I have a few announcements this evening, if you'll give me just a moment.
Yep.
So I want to recognize the Easthampton High School We the People team. I know we've talked about this group many times as a school committee. But I'd like to recognize this year's group of students and their coach, Kelly Brown. They went to the Nationals over April vacation. And while they did not win at the Nationals, they came in 13th. They just learned that recently, like last week. So that's 13th overall in the nation. So I really want people to know that. And some of the individual teams scored even higher. So really kudos to that team for continuously doing amazing work, and their coach, Kelly Brown, who's amazing every year. I also want to let everyone know that the day after the students returned from Washington, the commissioner of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education came to see the kids. And it was a great opportunity for him to sit down with this group of students and really hear their perspective on their entire experience, both in the classroom, at the state competition, at the national competition. Many of their mentors were there. And so the commissioner was just beaming at the end of his visit. He was so impressed by this group of students and the work that their teacher is doing. So I'd just like to thank the commissioner for coming out to see the students. A few other things. Prom was held recently and it was very successful. And I know Mackenzie's not here tonight, so I wanted to just mention that. It's also Teacher Appreciation Week this week. So thank you to our amazing teachers. And if there are parents on this call, if you could reach out to your child's teacher and thank them for all that they do for your child, and to the teachers on the call, thank you for all you do. Also, tomorrow is Nurse Appreciation Day, School Nurse Appreciation Day. So kudos to all of our school nurses. I saw Amanda on the call before. Amanda is our district nurse. So kudos to Amanda and the entire nurse team at Mountain View. And those are my announcements this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Maren. And somewhere I saw that Ben dropped off. Did we lose Ben? I'm looking at the people and I don't see him on anymore.
He just sent me a message that says he lost internet, but he's coming back.
Okay, cool. Okay, excellent. All right. Well, that's too bad he lost internet. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see him soon, hopefully. All right. So Nick, it's time for you. You ready?
Yes, thank you. For my finance update for this month, it's going to be a combination of 2 months. I was unable to get one last month. So at this point in time, 76.99% of our local appropriation has been expended, and an additional 3.02% is encumbered. So we've basically about 80% is at this point expended. I'm currently preparing for the year-end close. Non-emergency purchasing will be frozen after May 19th, which will allow me to prepare transfers needed to cover accounts that may be in deficit, as well as to begin the steps for the end-of-year close. I can't believe it's already here. It feels like just yesterday I came on board. The FY22 end-of-year report amendment, based on the report that I received from our external auditor, I completed my amendment to the FY22 end-of-year report for DESE. So it's all set and tucked away, and I won't have to think about it again until August when I prepare to do next year's. A quick update on the city/school chart of accounts work that we've been doing. As part of the agreed upon review of the city and school charts of accounts, we have met with an accounting firm 3 times thus far. At our third meeting, we continued the work of breaking our charts of accounts into segments, and designed a new system where the school department and the city charts are aligned. New accounting software will be purchased for the city and the school department, with which our new chart of accounts will be compatible. So that's going to be a good thing going forward. Definitely, there's still quite a bit of work to do, but it's good that we've begun the process. The FY23 supplemental appropriation request that has been mentioned throughout the last few meetings. At the April 19th City Council meeting, the council approved the supplemental appropriation request in the amount of $200,000. The funds have been transferred to the school department budget and have already been applied to a vocational tuition account, which was in deficit. The school department thanks the city council and the mayor for their support in this process and in covering that deficit. This summer, Easthampton Public Schools will be running a summer food service program for all interested students. The program will run out of 2 sites. One will be at the Neary School and one will be at Millside Park. Meals will be available 5 days per week and must be consumed at the site, which is different than the summer meals that were provided during the darkest days of the pandemic. And that's a USDA regulation. They just won't allow grab and go anymore. It's got to be done in a congregate site. And the allowable sites have to be based on your percentage of low income students and where they are. And I figure somebody would ask the question, why is this not at the high school or Mountain View? So that's the answer. Neary School, even though they're not part of Easthampton Public Schools, they're under our food service National School Lunch Program application. And they're a CEP school, which means that their percentage of low-income students is high enough where all their meals are free. Even if the meals weren't universally free by the state this year, all the meals there would be free. So that is an approved site. And Millside Park is close enough to it where, you get like a radius of, I don't know, I think it's 1.5 miles or 2 miles. I don't remember the exact number of where you can have, another site. So that's kind of what we ended up landing on. We received a grant in the amount of $3,000 from Project Bread to help us run the program. A lot of that will be spent on marketing and advertising. It's very important to get the word out to the community. As well as some supplies that we may need in order to pull this off, coolers and things like that, because the meals are going to have to be made somewhere and then transported. More information will follow. The application packet to run the program is nearly complete and will be submitted to the food service department at DESE. I'm attending a training on Monday about really the nuts and bolts of running the food service program, along with our food service director from Chartwells, who's done this before. He's worked in a few districts. So, we're happy to be able to provide this opportunity to the community. I know that it didn't occur last summer, but I believe the 2 prior summers, there was a summer food service program. And from what I understand, it was pretty well attended by the community. So, we're hoping to still serve quite a few meals and, for anybody, in the community that would be interested. But it's also important that they know that the meals have to be consumed on site.
So the mayor has a question.
Okay.
I have 2 quick ones. One, the site at Millside, what happens if it's raining?
I believe the plan is to rent a tent.
Oh, great. Okay.
And some of the Project Bread funds could be used to pay for that. That's one of the types of things that we could use it for.
Gotcha. And then the tent. Oh, and we had, and I don't know, Superintendent LeClaire might have the answer. I remember when we were doing meal delivery during the depths of the pandemic, we had coolers and we were delivering food. The numbers maybe were different. I was wondering if we still have that equipment, the Cambros and whatnot. I don't know what kind of numbers you're expecting for this compared to that was a smaller program. but
We still have the coolers at Mountain View School. I've seen them in like the storage area near the food service area. I don't know if we'll need additional ones or not. I don't know the exact number, but we definitely still have quite a few of the supplies.
okay. Thank you.
So this eating the food on site and not being grab and go. So any student can sign up, or they don't have to sign up, they just show up?
And they can just show up.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because I mean, not everybody might want to come every day, and
Good.
it wouldn't be successful if they had to sign up in advance, I don't think.
And how many days do you know that it's going to run? Is it going to run the whole summer, 5 days a week, or 7 days, 5?
Yeah, it's going to run 5 days a week. It's not going to run on like 4th of July, for instance. Right. I don't have an exact start date yet, or an exact end date, but certainly in our June meeting, I can provide you with more specific details.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions about the finance report before I get to the personnel updates? Okay. So I've got 2 months here. In March, there were 4 new hires to the district, all substitute teachers. There were 5 separations of various positions, and 2 folks transferred within the district to new positions. For April, we had 3 new hires to replace some of the vacancies that occurred in March. We had 4 separations and 1 individual who transferred into a new role in the district. Our current vacancies, we have 1 vacant administrative assistant position at Mountain View, 1 paraeducator position at Mountain View, a special ed teacher at the high school, and a paraeducator at the high school. Although regarding the administrative assistant, I did see that disappear from School Spring this morning, so there's perhaps somebody really close to being hired. I just haven't gotten the paperwork for it yet. So that's where we are personnel-wise.
All right. Okay, thank you. So is that the end of your report? And we'll just go on to, we need to have someone authorized to sign warrants and payroll. And I had suggested that it be Megan, but it certainly could be Ben. Are either of you available to do that? Megan, I was thinking as secretary, you would be the next person I would foresee signing them.
That sounds
but we need to take a vote for that. And Maren, I see, is on, but is Maren able to?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. I can hear you. Good. Excellent.
I would make a motion then that Megan becomes is set up within our DocuSign to be able to sign our warrants and payrolls.
I'll second that.
Okay, Ben?
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren?
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan?
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor?
Mary LaChapelle, aye.
And Cindy Kuzensky, aye. Excellent. That was easy. Thought it would be. So, Megan, that's usually on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. By Wednesday, they start to panic if we don't sign it, but they usually aren't posted till Tuesday. About Tuesday, I think noon, sometimes 11 in the morning. But you can look on Tuesday and try to sign on Wednesday. And I usually get a text if not enough of us have signed. And then I start reminding people.
When you say it's posted, is it emailed or
is it emailed to you? So you'll be able to click on it and DocuSign.
Easy peasy.
It is. It really is. All right. Do we have a finance subcommittee report?
Yeah, I will get notes in for the next meeting, but we did meet as a committee. We reviewed quarterly budgets and sort of went through sort of some of the key concerns. We did review Q2, which at that point was already outdated because some of the concerns were addressed with the appropriations, particularly around vocational tuition and transportation. And then we reviewed Q3 as well. So at this point, we are in good standing heading towards the end of the year, and we definitely supported Nick's choice to be able to, I'm forgetting the term you used, but sort of end purchases to be able to wrap up the year and move towards closing that down quickly. So, but otherwise everything seems on track. And we will be, I think the next big thing for everybody should know who wants to come out and
You're muted now. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So I just was saying the other thing to know about that's coming up in terms of finances for the school district is that I believe it's at the finance subcommittee, city council will be reviewing the school committee budget on Monday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. So you're welcome to come and support schools with that budget hearing. So, but we are supportive of the budget going forward and appreciate the support from the mayor this year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And we don't have a policy subcommittee report, do we?
We don't, because I'm the only one. So I don't know if we want to rearrange things and set me up to be the person in that role or what. I'm open to any kind of.
Well, I think given that we will have 2 members coming on.
Yep. Right.
I think that and most of the year is gone. I think that we can wait until we have that vote on the 31st.
Sounds good.
If that's okay with everybody else. I mean, I don't see any pressing stuff. A lot of good work was done ahead of time. And so I think we can wait until those 2 vacancies are filled. All right, so we are at other. Does anybody have something that they would like to discuss under other? Megan?
Yes, I wanted to see if we could arrange for that English language learning program. They emailed us and offered to come and present and sort of show more of what they're thinking about in terms of next year. And I know we had a great presentation last time from Dr. LeClaire, but I would like to hear more about that.
So Dr. LeClaire, what are your thoughts? My hope was that we could do it either the June 13th meeting or the next one.
We have presentations already lined up for the remainder of the school year. And Julianne is anticipating bringing the access scores to you at the May 23rd meeting so that you can see the numbers for how the grade levels, the workload. But we did, remember the mayor paid for used ARPA funds to pay for an enrollment study that is going to be ready for the May 23rd meeting. They're consultants that have been working on this with Jeff Bagg. And so that's a big presentation that's coming at the end of May. And I really, Jeff Bagg, because of so many of the projects in town, really, they were delayed. They were hoping to get the presentation in March or April. So they have been waiting. So I hate to put them off. And then we have a large presentation in June that has been put off for the past few months from the ELF group. So things have been delayed because of the superintendent search. And so we have some presentations that have kind of stacked up and people that we've made promises to. So I really want to give them their time.
Cindy, if I could speak too, I no offense to Dr. LeClaire, but I think also that this issue is really for next year. And from my perspective, would make the most sense to be when we have our new interim superintendent. And so that, as we bring that person on, there's this concern that's been raised within our district. We're open to hearing more information. The new superintendent would hear that information provided, and then they would be able to use that information to make changes or not, based on, everyone's different perspectives and going into the new school year. So my recommendation is actually at this point, again, no disrespect to Dr. LeClaire, but as she's going to be leaving us, better to wait and hold off for this kind of a presentation until the new interim superintendent is going to be there, be able to use this information to be able to make decisions going into next school year.
Yeah, I was thinking along the same lines. I don't know anybody else, but I was thinking the August 22nd meeting, which is before the school year starts, just to look at that. That or the June 13th. So those were the things I was tossing out.
You mean July, right?
No, there's a July 18th. We have a June 13th meeting.
And June 13th, we have a big health presentation. Yeah.
And how long do you think that is?
I think that, in speaking to them, they have indicated that it's going to, they said, what's the most we could have, so I've tried to put them around 15, 20 minutes, but I think it, plus I'm imagining you'll have a superintendent announcement as well. So you're probably going to have a pretty filled meeting.
Yep. Well, I liked Marin's idea that we wait until the superintendent comes on so that they, whoever that is can hear. I like that idea. And I'm not tied to, August 22nd, certainly could be July 18th. I was just thinking that's only a short period of time to get up and running, but probably doable. Megan?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I hadn't thought about waiting until after July 1st, but I think that's, I would recommend that too. And I would say, I think the July meeting would work better in terms of making sure we're not scrambled. Like if we do decide to make changes from that, or if the superintendent decides to make changes, then we're not scrambling to try to fill positions so I would love to see it at the July meeting.
Is that what everybody's thinking? Does that sound reasonable?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Okay. Any other? Otherwise, I
just had a quick one. I think that letter that came in, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, from former Easthampton student and school committee rep Karina Pedersen about the role of students in the school committee. She was sort of proposing that the school committee change things around so that the representative gets a full vote within the school committee. I don't know the details around that, how that works. Even if it's not possible, that's okay too. But what I am interested in is rejuvenating the conversation around more direct connection between the student advisory council in whatever formation that exists at the high school. Looking back at I was looking at this today, the Mass General Law has this stated, I can actually pull it up right now. It's section 38M, that we're supposed to meet with the student advisory council at least once every other month. And I think that it really behooves us to go beyond just here's the student calendar, here's the Spirit Week, all that is great. But to do something more where students actually get to contribute to some of the decisions that are made on their behalf. I thought her argument was really persuasive and interesting, and something we should be thinking about a little more deliberately. I brought this up maybe in October, and it went nowhere. And it's something that I feel like it really does need to be pushed. You know what I mean? This is one of the things. Like, I don't know how we're going to do it exactly, but I really want students to have more of a voice in what happens and to feel like they have some agency in the district.
Well, a student would not have a vote on the committee.
Is that like the law? I don't know the law. I'm asking genuinely. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not an elected official,
right?
So therefore, you would not have a vote. But we We did talk about for next year that we definitely want to get back to like every month having different student presentations.
Right.
So if you remember, that was something that we were going to talk to the new superintendent about, starting and putting that on the agenda, so that students would be coming, doing a presentation, taking questions from us.
That sounds good. And that could fulfill this requirement. But I think it would be interesting to really invite either a one student or more students who are on this like advisory council to come, and it could be a presentation, or it could be like something where we, like, I think I've talked about this before, but where we dedicate a certain chunk of a meeting to them, like beyond just a presentation, whether it be like the first hour or something like that. They get to kind of lead a discussion or whatever it is to get them in the mix of things. We could work on how that would look.
Megan?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that. I think one of the ideas that we had tossed around initially, I think back in October or whenever this came up, was the idea of, rather than having a representative come to us, if we could really try to go to this model of one of us going to them and having it be one of the subcommittee type reports that comes out. So we talk about finance, we talk about policy, and then here's what's going on with the students when we went to their meetings. So I would love to, when they're here, I worry that they don't feel like they can talk as freely. I want to hear what they're talking about. And then give their voice airtime during every meeting.
I liked the idea, and we talked about that, of one, one or more going to them to listen. But student presentations also, one, it's a good skill. It's an excellent skill for students to have. And two, it allows, when you do a presentation, it allows not only all of us to hear, but the community to hear at the same time. If one of us is going and we're reporting, we had this great meeting and this is what we covered and talked about, it's not quite the same. So I personally would be in favor of both, doing both those things, having student presentations. We had them consistently, and we've been so slammed over the years since COVID that a lot of these things have fallen by the wayside. And I think it's time to bring them back.
What were some of the things that were presented? I'm curious.
Oh my goodness. So we had the GSA, we had We the People, we had the
water project at the middle school.
Yeah. We oh gosh, what was the project? The other project at the middle school, not just the water project.
Yeah.
Oh, it is escaping me. But
yeah, we had middle school groups come. We've had like performances, musical, like a band group or a jazz group came.
Yep. Yeah. And so we had a routine where you knew that every month you were going to see somebody for a presentation, and the agenda was made up in advance so that they knew, okay, well, we're on in September and we're ready to talk about this and this. Everybody else is on, October, November, December. So I'd like to see us get back to that. And I think what we decided is we were going to wait until the superintendent started. At least that's what I got from our conversation. So sorry, I almost choked in my water.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll follow up on it because it's important. Yeah. I want to push it.
Yeah, it is on our agenda. There's going to be, changes. There'll be hybrid meetings. There'll be more presentations. Again, I think a schedule helps all the groups and the advisors to, because it's a big deal to have the students come, to have them practice, feel confident, know what they want to say, what they want to do, be prepared for questions. So it's always good if they know way ahead of time that this is their time to shine. Okay, are we ready for matters for action? You got quite a list.
All right, sorry, I'm balancing all of my screens here. Okay. So I would like to make a motion to approve the school payroll dated 5/4/2023 in the amount of $560,939.65.
I second that.
Okay, Ben,
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren,
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan,
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated 5/4/2023 in the amount of $213,822.42.
I second that.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to approve the school payroll dated 4/20/2023 in the amount of $578,452.77.
I second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated 4/20/2023 in the amount of $702,548.90.
I second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren,
Maren Goldstein, aye. Sorry.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Our next is for a field trip. Do we need to have any discussion?
I'm just interested. What is that trip? High Meadows in Granby.
High Meadows is the senior class trip. They take it every year. You
That's
approve it
right. Okay.
Every year.
Yep.
It's right over the border in Suffield, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And it's just it's got a pool, it's got games, food all day. It's an outdoor thing.
Yep.
Sounds great. I make a motion to approve the out-of-state field trip request for EHS to High Meadows in Granby, Connecticut on 5/26/2023.
I'll second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
And the next one is a field trip to
I've actually asked them to table this until next month. I'm looking for more information.
All right. Sounds good.
I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the January 12th, 2023 Superintendent Search Committee minutes.
I'll second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the January 18th, 2023 Superintendent Search Committee minutes.
Second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the January 26th, 2023 Superintendent Search Committee minutes.
Second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
And Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to accept the executive session minutes of the January 30th, 2023 Superintendent Search Committee minutes with the stipulation to withhold until matters are resolved.
Second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to accept the executive session minutes of the February 6th, 2023 Superintendent Search Committee minutes with the stipulation to withhold until matters are resolved.
I second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
And Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to accept the executive session minutes of the February 8th, 2023 Superintendent Search Committee minutes with a stipulation to withhold until matters are resolved.
I second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 1st, 2023 meeting.
I'll second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I move to approve the minutes of the April 10th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second that.
Ben Hersey, aye.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Megan Harvey, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
And I have a last one here about remaining a school choice district, which I believe we've already discussed.
You've already voted. You've already voted on this.
Good. Great. So we're done.
I thought we did.
We can vote again.
Yeah, we're not gonna vote against it. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so our next meeting dates, right now are July 18th and August 22nd. That's the summer schedule. And our next regular in-school sessions are May 23rd and June 13th. So we will be, again, we will be updating information about the interim search as things, like every week, things will get a little bit more developed. So everybody will, all those messages will go out. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Did I know I missed the very beginning, but I wondered, did you already sort of announce, even in terms of loose ideas about opportunities for meet and greets during
Yes.
that week to be
Yes.
determined? Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yeah. And yeah, we went through the interview dates, the meet and greet week, the site visits, and that we're doing questions on the 16th. And when we're doing our possible decision making on the 5th and the 12th.
Okay.
So we
So
covered.
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, Ben.
Ben Hersey, good night.
Maren Goldstein, good night.
Megan Harvey, good night.
Mayor LaChapelle, good night.
And Cindy Kuzensky, good night. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a good night.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.